Morning guys, welcome to part 1 of Craft and Crime, Beads and Broken Pieces. This is my life to start with, the cold hard truth. I just want to say before I get into it, these videos are not to hurt anyone, they're not to upset anyone, I'm not doing it to be horrible, this is just my life. So for that reason, I won't be using any names. I won't be using my family members' names at all, as I'd like to protect their privacy as well, as obviously some of this is their story also. So with that in mind, I am going to be making a fancy keychain today. Firstly, I'm just going to start by threading some flowers. So these are just soft flowers with some head pins. I'm not really sure how I should start this, how I should really begin this video. There's a lot to get through, so I'll briefly start from the beginning to give you an idea of how my life began. So let's do this. So my life, it started out really quite normal and regular. I had a mum, I even had a dad for a brief spell. I had 2 brothers. Older brothers, obviously. My sister came later. My mum didn't have an amazing marriage, but you know, for the 80s, it kind of worked for the time. Like, people were all quite old-fashioned, so they brushed their problems under the carpet, I would say. I don't really remember much about my very young life. I do know that apparently my dad only ever wanted a girl, and then he got a girl and then stuck around for 18 months. So then he left after that because apparently he was in love with somebody else. But what can you do? You love all your heart wants what heart wants, right? So I only know what I've been told by my family. They all tell different stories of him, so it's a little hard to know the truth and what's not at this point. The only thing I'm sure about is that my father was a massive cheat and broke my mum's heart. And he did, because he was her first love. So they say you only get 3 loves in life, and the third one is a keeper. I kind of agree with that as well, actually. We'll get into that later. Shortly after my parents split up, one of his fancy women came knocking at the door to let my mum know that she'd screwed her husband. I mean, what even goes through someone's head to even think about doing that? That's far, even for the 80s, right? So when she told me that, I was absolutely just gobsmacked, absolutely baffled by that. I just think some people are nuts. From that, I will skip to how my father left and the events that led up to that. So he actually went on a lad's holiday with my auntie's husband at the time. I can't remember where they went. I think it could have been Spain. Again, don't quote me on that because I don't actually remember much of that. And then a few days in, they were in a club, drinking, having a laugh. What lads do. The music's banging. Well, the music for the time anyway. And to be fair, 80s music ain't all that bad. I think it's a lot better than what it is today. Because half the music today, I really don't understand what's being shouted in it. But then I'm 42, so probably just getting old. Anyway, I digress. My father saw a woman in there that he liked in there. He was a cheat after all, so obviously he was going to pursue her. But it was only supposed to be a silly holiday fling. Just like a holiday romance. And that's it. And then it was supposed to end when they came home. Anyway, he had a fling with this woman the entire time he was there. When he got home, he faked it with my mum for a while and continued seeing her behind her back. My mum was none the wiser, totally oblivious to this. After all, she loved him. It continued. He strung my mum along for a bit longer. We played happy families until I was 18 months old. And then he decided he was going to tell my mum he didn't love her anymore and that he was leaving her for this other woman that he'd met on the lad's holiday. Cool stuff, right? And that he was in love with her. And then he packed his belongings and just left. And that was the day the lights in my older brother's eyes just went out, basically. Because he worshipped him and still does, in a way. He wasn't interested in my other brother at all. I genuinely don't think he actually liked him, to be fair, because he didn't want another son, he wanted a daughter. And then he got one and he left to make a new life with someone else, and that someone else he had kids with, and they had a fantastic life. They did. They were happy. It was normal, it was regular, and great. I'm glad he found the person he wanted to be with in the end. Anyway, my life started with unanswered questions, abuse torment, sadness, anger, overwhelming feeling of being permanently lost and lonely and afraid, and an immense never-ending pain. And my mum, she was left with 3 children under the age of 10, in a mountain of debts. My father's previous conquest regularly came crawling out of the woodwork just to rub a nose in it a bit more, you know. Your marriage is failed, but hey, we slept with your husband anyway. So my father was a debt collector by trade, by the way, and that's where most of his conquest came from. We did go backwards and forwards to my dad's house with his new girlfriend, and we did stay with him for weekends. I remember one weekend I vaguely remember it. We went to the fair and he got my ears pierced for like 20p. My mum went absolutely up the wall because I was allergic to the metal they stuck in my ears, and for then 13 years my ears just pussed. It was disgusting, and she was always squeezing them. It's like she had some sort of fetish over it. Horrid. So we bounced around between parents' houses for a few years. I didn't like my dad's girlfriend, and quite frankly, I don't think she liked me very much either. I wouldn't talk to her, I wouldn't eat what she cooked, I wouldn't do as I was told either. So she fed me full of crap to keep me happy. So by the end of the weekend, when we went home to my mum, I was high as a kite on sugar for 3 days, and, well, basically quite impossible for my mum to deal with. I made rude remarks to people on the buses. I ran up and down the buses. I didn't go to sleep. Nothing. But anything for a quiet life, right? Where co-parenting is involved. I was a total pain in my mum's arse, really. And that's the direct effect of not attempting to get to know your children. He didn't know how to communicate with me. He didn't know what I liked. He didn't know what I didn't like. He didn't know what I was afraid of. He knew nothing about me. He didn't know what I was afraid of. He never looked for monsters in my closet like every other dad would. He never looked for the bogeyman under my bed because he just wasn't interested. He didn't ever really know me, and suddenly he wasn't a great father. Well, not to me, anyway. We went back and forth between parents until I was about 3 to 4 years old. And this time, my mum did indeed meet someone else. She seemed to like him. And let me tell you, what a piece of work he was. Now, he didn't like me. He didn't like my brothers. And he seemed to have a special kind of hate for me. When she met him, my life started to take a big nosedive. But little did I know that it was going to get worse after that, but it is what it is, you know. This is what happened. My eating habits were awful by this time anyway, because my brothers had actually convinced me that everything I ate was some sort of bug, and that every time my mum went into the garden, she was collecting an insect, or insects, to have for tea, which was charming, to say the least, you know. They were young, though. They were under 10, so that's what boys do, isn't it? It's boys will be boys. I don't hold that against them now. I lived on mash and gravy, basically. And to be fair, I still love mash and gravy. But the second she went out to the garden to get the mint for the new potatoes, I was convinced she was putting something in it. So that was the end of that. I did not eat that anymore. Spaghetti was worms or maggots or various different fucking oddities. Oh, sugar. Don't swear, Vicky. But it did come to the point where I was bordering anorexia at 3 because I didn't eat anything. Now, this annoyed my mum's boyfriend immensely because I just want to eat anything. And the fact I never wanted to be alone with him either. If my mum was going to the shop, I would skid down the hallway just to go with her, even if I didn't want to go to the shop. I just didn't want to be in the house with him. That's how bad that was. My eating habits irritated him so much so, he would sit me at the table in the morning and force me to eat my Weetabix. And then when I would bring them back up again or gag, he would give me a right royal good hiding for that. I mean, this guy hit me so hard once that he made me bleed. Bearing in mind I was, 3, coming on 4. My father had moved to a different country. I think I would have chosen to stay with my father over him. My mum got pregnant with my sister. Things just continued to go downhill. They just got worse and worse and worse. He was just awful. It was so bad that I now have this actual fear of eating in front of other people. I genuinely struggle to eat in front of other people. Now, and I couldn't. So if I go out for food, I try and sit with my back to people as well, so they can't see me eating because of other stuff that this guy did, like forcing his fingers down my throat to make me swallow things, smacking me if I didn't eat. Anyway, this guy just got worse, basically. I mean, I don't know what this guy's problem was with me so much and why he hated me so much. I think it's because I was a girl and not his daughter. That's the only reason I can come up with. If I didn't chew my meat quick enough, he would stuff his fingers down my throat and force me to swallow it. So now, if I'm eating food, if I have to eat meat, I'll chew it and chew it and chew it and chew it until within an inch of its life. So it's like basically tasteless. And I just can't swallow it. I'm not a vegetarian. Beef is the worst for me. I just can't cope with it. I hate eating in front of people. I had this belief that everybody's watching me. And then we had to stay with him when my mum had my sister, which was not great because he scared me. I was afraid of him. And I don't even think anybody was bothered at that point that I was afraid. Either that or they didn't notice I was afraid. At this time, when my mum had my sister, my dad's girlfriend didn't know if she could have children or not. So rather than my dad wanting me to go and live with him or his other two children who also were being bullied by my mum's boyfriend, he offered to actually pay cash money for my baby sister. So he wanted somebody else's child and not his own. Now, I've heard 1,000,001 different excuses for this, but I don't think any of them really matter to me. The fact that you wanted somebody else's child instead of your own child is quite upsetting, really. And quite frankly, very, very hurtful. Anyway, my mum did refuse, thankfully, because my sister is literally my best friend. And she's very understanding of me as well. She knows me. My sister was about 6 months old. My mum's boyfriend hit me so hard that made me bleed, and my nana put an end to the relationship. So she saved us from that relationship. And then he threatened to take my mum to court over my sister and all sorts. He was never going to win that. How ridiculous. Mum's boyfriend was gone, so you would think that your life would get better after that. My mum was back to being a single mum, this time with 4 children. I understand that probably wasn't easy for her, but unfortunately, life didn't really get any better after that. It just continued to go downhill. So please join me for the next part, and the next part will quite possibly be the most difficult part for me to tell because it just gets so much worse. And this is what we ended up with after all of that story. If you like it, let me know. If you love it, it's in my Etsy shop. But please do your thing, like, share, subscribe, comment. I'll add my email address so you can send me your stories if you want, and I will happily tell those. Because quite frankly, it'll probably be a nice change from telling my story. Thank you so much for listening. Ask me anything and I'll answer it. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.